When you think of the standard kids movie, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Personally, the first thing I think of is that one adult joke that gets slipped in to keep your parents entertained, and then later on, like years later, you rewatch it and then you discover, how the hell did I not notice that? But I can't exactly make an entire video on that topic. Maybe I could. Who knows? But for now, I'll just say the second thing, which is talking animals. I'm genuinely not so sure what it is about animals talking or acting and doing stuff like humans that we find so entertaining, especially as kids, but it still works. But what if you take talking animals and put them into real life terrible situations while still trying to be a kids movie? Oh, what kind of terrible real life situations? How about the months leading up to D-Day in World War II? That is right, this is not just a hypothetical. There is an actual PG animated film about the Allied forces preparing to storm Normandy during World War II from the perspective of carrier pigeons. This movie is the 2005 Disney film Valiant. That's right, you heard me correctly. The Walt Disney Company put their names on this project, and I bet you have never heard of it. If you have, I call you a liar. I remember as a kid having this in my DVD case and never really actually playing it. It just looked stupid. I would much rather watch The Magic School Bus and Meteor and the Mighty Monster Trucks. But I remember when I was a bit older, I'd say like 9 or 10, I put it in one time, actually wanting to know what the heck this mystery DVD is. Like, he had a military helmet on, so it couldn't have been the most innocent, but I didn't expect him to have World War II be a central part of the plot. So this film is about a tiny pigeon named Valiant who wants to do his part and join the RHPS, which stands for the Royal Homing Pigeon Service, to help out during World War II despite his lackluster stature. Right off the bat, I love when movies like name the character in the most, hey, I'm the protagonist way possible. Like, everyone else gets regular names-ish for birds. Meanwhile, we have this guy whose name is literally Valiant. Just in case you aren't sure who the protagonist of this story is supposed to be, how about the one that has the definition? Actually, I don't even know what the definition of Valiant is. But yes, I am going to do a rant review of this movie. But before I get into the plot, which is the main gripe I have, I want to get this section out of the way first because this was a close runner-up of what I wanted to complain about. My personal experience isn't as valuable, so I didn't want to sprinkle it in throughout because I don't know as much about this topic as I would like to. I do want to talk about the animation quality of this movie because it is trash. So the studio that created this film is called Vanguard Animation. Disney is only involved because they were the distributor of this film with Buena Vista. It's not a Disney movie. It wasn't made in their studio. The studio, I believe, was created by the guy who produced the first 2 Shrek movies. This company has only made a handful of films since their start in 2005, and one of them is Space Chimps. I didn't know, but after watching this movie, I can see their style in Space Chimps now. Yes, it looks like Valiant was their first film as an animation company, so I'm gonna not be too heavily harsh with my criticisms since it's their first go of it, but I still cannot stand the quality of this movie because I've seen what other companies have done with CGI and animation prior to this movie coming out. While watching the film, a lot of times I would notice how textures would feel flat, even when it looks like it shouldn't be. With sometimes the bird's feathers, it just looks like a matte blank surface, and they draw lines to oh, there's indents, but it still gets that you still look at it and don't inherently think texture, you think flat. It's a lot like playing Pokemon ZA and looking at the windows and just there's no depth there at all. And then there's the liquids. It's one thing to have large ocean waves moving up and down in organized patterns because water physics are hard, but it is another to constantly jam viscous fluids at multiple points of the movie that look even grosser than what they are representing. This shit here is practically neon yellow. Most animation studios were not able to do liquids justice at the time, let alone these guys. So why do we have to keep seeing these gross sticky polygons? I just had to mention the animation quality before I get into the plot because so many times it took me out of the movie. I'm like watching it just like, wow, that looks bad. Even for 2005. And Disney put their name on it. But enough about the animation. Let's talk plot. The film starts by showing us that the year is 1944, and the RHPS is losing recruits quickly to the Falcons the Nazis have trained to intercept Allied messages. This gets some of the higher-ups at the RHPS to try to get more recruits to join the war.
If we don't find some more birds fast, our goose is going to be cooked.
Oh, yeah, I almost forgot. Bird puns. Everywhere. Yay. Cut to our hero Valiant watching this new round of propaganda, and I immediately realized that Captain America literally copied Valiant's homework. Shameful, Marvel. Real shameful here. I also thought that the officer bird in the middle seems like a real piece of work for making the other birds fly with one wing each, just so he can stand there and look tough. Then I found out that that character is voiced by Jim Broadbent, who played Slughorn in the Harry Potter series. And honestly, I can see Slughorn wanting to have that kind of authority in his life.
You don't need to disfigure me, Elvis.
So Valiant basically gets patriot pilled, and now he thinks that he has what it takes to join the fight and makes a difference, so he wants to enlist. There's just one problem though. He's a small boy, and everyone knows it. Yes, the classic kid story trope of you're too small to do anything that gets proven wrong in the end. If I had a nickel for every story I heard with that exact same message, I would be $40 richer. Probably enough to buy gas. 3 RHPS birds show up after flexing their flying skills, which I don't know how impressive that would be considering these are all birds. Honestly, I'm more impressed with the seagull that fashioned a pencil peg leg for himself while also being a living maraca.
Shrapnel in me poop deck.
Anyways, Gutsy tells everyone that there is going to be signups to enlist tomorrow in London, and Valiant decides he's gonna go do it, despite everyone laughing at him. I love how in kids' movies you always have like the main character get very publicly bullied by strangers, even though in real life you could have a mental breakdown in Times Square and people would do everything in their power to ignore you and avoid you. We then cut to this location, and if I had to guess anything, it would probably be that this is where the bad guys live. But yeah, we meet the Nazi Falcons. Can I say Nazis? They're actually Nazis. It's not like it's hate speech. They're literally Nazis. I'm just gonna go with it anyways. But yeah, we meet the Nazi Falcons and their leader, General von Talon, who is voiced by Dr. Frankenfurter himself.
Under the Geneva Convention, as an officer, I have the right to be treated as a pigeon of war.
You will be.
Take him to the cage.
Am I the only one who thinks that their German accents are really not good? Also, did this guy really think Nazis were gonna respect the Geneva Convention? Like, I don't think that was first drafted with carrier pigeons in mind. I also find it wild, too, that they chose to reference that, and I doubt they actually thought about the possible consequences of that choice. Imagine you are a parent watching this with your kid. That line comes up, and the kid asks, "What's the Geneva Convention?" Now you're debating letting your child learn how in 1859 at the Battle of Solferino, 40,000 soldiers were left dead or wounded without adequate care, and how 5 years later the Red Cross was formed, which then led to countries forming a global agreement to not be as brutal during wars, and then how those nations had to expand those rules in the late 1940s because of all the sick shit that was done during the very war you are watching a movie about now, all because the silly bird on screen cited it. Anyways, now the pigeon's gonna get tortured for information, but luckily the Falcons are absolutely dog shit at torture. They even start with subtly threatening to eat him, and then Von Talon just goes,
I'm a vegetarian.
Bro couldn't even hold his own bluff under zero pressure. Also, they have real Nazi emblems in this movie. Not the swastika, but specifically ones related to the Air Force, all in this base. How did that get by the censors? Okay, yes, I know Raiders of the Lost Ark was able to get away with it, and it's also technically a PG film too, but this film, Valiant, came out in 2005, not 1981. We are talking post 9/11 cinema here, and we are still gonna approve this as a PG thing? Like, all the Indiana Jones films are PG-13 now. Because Nazis are in them. Actually, I'm gonna double check. I'm gonna double check now. PG-13, cool. Crystal Skull, which one's that at? PG-13. These are PG-13 films here, guys. But then I look at Last Crusade. Last Crusade's PG-13. And there's blatant Nazis in there. Temple of Doom? Temple of Doom has to be PG-13. There's no way in hell that's a PG film. How is that PG? I would never in my million years think Temple of Doom out of all of them is a PG film. Anyways, Valiant heads to London, leaving behind his mom, who doesn't want him to die, and the seagull who knows he is absolutely going to die.
That boy's gonna get creamed.
Creamed? Are you kidding me with this? This is a movie about World War II with actual Nazis and actual Nazi symbols, yet we're not gonna say die, we're gonna say creamed instead. Where's the line, guys? Anyways, he gets to London and runs into the most accurate depiction of a pigeon you will ever see. Bugsy.
Crumbs is yours, the crumbs is yours. Which one is it under?
He's got the mangled feathers, the dirt, and the constant desire for grain-related food. All he needs now is at least one toe missing. Living in Boston for 4 years, I saw so many pigeons that were missing at least one toe. There was one I saw that only had 2 toes total on only 1 foot. The other was just a nub. But yeah, Valiant literally crashes into the 2 birds Bugsy was trying to swindle, and then they both run away to avoid losing their toes.
He's here somewhere. I can smell him.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure all Scotland Yard can smell that bird. He literally has 3 flies going in a large circle over his head constantly. As luck would have it though, they stumble upon the recruitment site Valiant was actually looking for, and Bugsy decides to follow him in order to hide from the other 2 birds. Valiant's told he's not tall enough to ride the ride, and Bugsy bullshits the dude into thinking they're actually best buds with Dr. House MD, and they get let in. I don't know how anyone can say they're friends with Dr. House, just saying.
How old are you?
8.
And he swallowed something stuck to a fridge. Darwin says let him die.
Anyways, Bugsy now has to actually enlist in the military. And since he's a bird, he doesn't have the option to be a conscientious objector. So then Valiant and Bugsy arrive at the boot camp with 3 other birds, and those birds don't actually do anything to make you care about them as characters, so I'm just gonna ignore them, because that's all I did watching this movie. Didn't care when they were on, they did nothing to make me care. They just take up time. And this is already a pretty short movie. They then get put under the command of Sergeant Slughorn, who is your typical boot camp hardass.
I will make birds of you, turkeys, even if it kills you.
Who's gonna tell him that turkeys are birds? Also, he said the word that they were too scared to actually say earlier.
Even if it kills you.
I mean, where is the line censors? Jesus Christ, it's actually infuriating. Slughorn instantly has an issue with Valiant and once again brings up how much size matters.
It's not the size of your wingspan. No, it's the size of your spirit.
I'm sure all the girls tell him that. Sergeant Slughorn then designates them as Squad F. He says it's F for future, but I know damn well that he means F for fucking useless. Meanwhile, back at the totally not an evil base, the Falcons are still trying to figure out how to torture the captured pigeon. And holy shit, is that a throne made up of artillery shells? Move over, Iron Throne. I want a bunker buster throne. But yeah, the Falcons decide that yodeling is the best course of torture for this pigeon.
Must resist yodeling.
I find it weird how the German characters are making fun of German customs. Like, you would think these guys in particular would be very, like, prideful of anything that has anything to do with the German area, Alpine area. You know, with the whole master race bullshit that was going on. Also, and this might just be me, I don't find yodeling music annoying. Now, if it was polka music, I would be telling them everything I know, including the time I once fucked. They eventually stick the pigeon with truth serum, and after numerous hours of him just ranting about everything under the sun, he finally reveals the location of the alien formant in France, a small village called Saint-Pierre. We also learn that the pigeon's favorite color is pink.
What is your favorite color?
Pink!
Excuse me. I like pink too.
Okay, weird filler moment. Back to the heroes now. During the whole training section of this movie, Valiant gets his little, like, you know, mutual crush thing going on with the boot camp nurse. And this makes me have some questions for the film. All the female birds we see in this movie are called doves. Why? Last I checked, pigeons and doves are two different types of birds, yet numerous times through this movie, we see female birds being called doves, even though the females look like the pigeons. Could it just be some dumb bird pun in place of calling girls doll or love like they did at the time period? Sure, but I would much rather believe that this world takes gender norms so seriously that if you are born a girl, you are a completely different species than the men. Because to me, that's funnier than the dumb bird joke. Also, why in the fuck do animated children's movies try to make female animals conventionally attractive to humans? Ain't no way a bird is gonna give someone doe eyes and strut around with an hourglass figure. Not happening. I'm convinced that these kinds of movies in our childhood had at least a small, tiny, somewhat impactful part to play in how much furry culture we have now, but I just cannot prove it. But yeah, all the guys were fawning over this nurse stuff, but Valiant was the only one who actually got her attention, so maybe he was onto something about that whole wingspan not mattering thing. During training though, House MD returns to tell the sergeant that because of the heavy losses, Squad F needs to be shipped into the field immediately. I honestly don't understand how the pigeons are dying off so quickly, because it looks like the Nazis only have 3 Falcons in the area that everyone's trying to get to. And it's not like these guys don't know what they're dealing with.
20 pounds of pigeon-eating muscle, measuring 5 of your wingspans. They like to blindside their prey at speeds in excess of 200 miles per hour.
But yeah, the sergeant then gives the squad a final speech before they ship off the next day, and he does not hold back on how they are all inevitably going to die.
Our feathers may be plucked from our lifeless bodies, our innards spread like jam on toast, and our bones fed to rabid weasels.
Where's the line, guys? Where's the line? He ends his speech with a final dose of Patriot pilling, and then they are given their mission: collect intel from an ally informant in German-occupied France and deliver it back to England. Spoiler alert, it's literally the plans for D-Day. In case you don't know what D-Day actually is though, pause this video, go watch Saving Private Ryan, and then come back here. That film was enough to trip PTSD in all the World War II vets that watched it, so I'm pretty sure it'll do a better job at explaining it than I possibly could, especially better than what this movie can offer. Hey, before I start the video, I should just mention that you should, give it a like, because you were willing to come back after watching that movie, which was not a short movie. So, just like the video, because you clearly like the video, and, it would be in your best interest to subscribe, too, because I want to make more videos like this, so, it just makes sense. But I do hope that you have watched the movie just now, or have watched in the past, because now I want you to imagine that that whole miracle of a victory relies solely on these guys. Even after being Patriot pilled though, Bugsy has decided he's had enough playing pretend, and he's gonna take a trip down Washout Lane. Flying ever so gracefully into the night. I mean, I guess they can't charge a pigeon with desertion. They could kill him though. The next morning, as the squad is loading onto an aircraft for France, Bugsy actually comes back.
You can't go without me. I couldn't let you get all the glory.
That Patriot pilling came on late, but it hit like a truck. Because not only did he technically already desert, he was never interested in being part of the military at all from the beginning.
Or I will personally drum you out of the Corps!
Wow, funny you should. I would love to get drummed out. I was gonna bring it up if you hadn't.
But camaraderie is not going to be enough to protect them, because the second they enter enemy airspace, they are instantly shot down. I feel like they should have known that was a shit idea. Their whole plan was to fly over France, drop the birds mid-flight in boxes with parachutes. The birds can fly. They're birds. And humans are in this. They're on a plane. The birds can't fly the plane. Humans can fly the plane. So some poor bastard willingly signed up for a one-way trip to France, and it was totally unnecessary. I guess you could argue that they had to be dropped over France in the boxes to protect them from the Falcons, but that doesn't hold up because the boxes don't hold up, because even with the parachute fully deployed, it lands on the ground It hits something that isn't completely flat and it shatters. Also, the plane shot down before they could get to their drop zone anyways. But the pigeons all land safely with, you know, the standard cartoon concussion. But Dr. House got his crate stuck and he goes down with the plane, even though he wasn't actually in the crate, and he can fly! Squad F panics for a minute before Valiant reminds them who the protagonist is, and then they continue on their mission. These guys lost the only qualified member of their team, and he was too dumb to use his fucking wings. I have no idea how they're gonna pull this off. I mean, I do because I watched it. I still don't believe how they're able to pull this off, though. But Squad F makes it to the location they need to be in France, and they meet the French Resistance Mouse Division.
I am Charles de Gaulle.
Why do they call you the girl?
Because I am a girl. The one and only girl.
I have some questions. First, what was the point of the Amish beard? It's never explained or seen again. But she's given the Judy Hopps treatment too with the hourglass curves. So what was with that fake beard? It wasn't like we actually thought she was a boy. Secondly, how drunk were her parents when she was born and she had to have a name written down? Charles de Gaulle sounds like he wanted a boy named Charles and couldn't think of any other names, let alone for a girl, and then just pooped that shit out. Bugsy doesn't mind any of that questionable stuff though, and proceeds to shoot his shot with the fucking mouse.
Does ooh la la mean anything to you? Or va va voom?
If someone doesn't tell me what this goddamn line is, I'm actually going to lose my And it gets weirder too because de Girl seems to have de hots for Valiant since he got a shit ton of kisses when no one else did. Valiant, I guess, has that cross-species and cross-kingdom game. Anyways, the mice give them the message and now they gotta make their way all the way back to England without any air support. So they could fly to, I get like, okay, we're in England, we gotta fly to France, we get the message, fly back. Doesn't have to be done like that. You fly, you take a breather when you need it, you get to France, you take a day's rest, then you head back to England. It doesn't have to be like da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I don't get it. I'm not a war tactician. I just think for this movie, it seems like a stretch. Von Talon's stooges show up and take Bugsy as prisoner because I guess they pieced together that he had the message because they gave it to him. I don't fucking know. Valiant follows, and we see that the Falcon base is not far at all from the town that they were looking for. It was quite literally right under their noses daily. And it took all that time just for the first pigeon that they kidnapped to accidentally mention it during a rant unrelated to the actual interrogation.
I demand better treatment. I mean, the mice don't treat me like this. You know those charming little resistance chappies with their fabulous view over the harbour the last time I was in the attic in St. Pierre.
So now the Falcons have the message, and Von Talon says he's gonna deliver it to Hitler himself. And Bugsy switches sides really quickly and becomes a Nazi bootlicker.
Yes, oh yes, yes. Oh, thank you. You're very wise.
Right outside the bunker, the other birds meet up with Valiant, and we learn that Gutsy actually survived the crash.
Chute gave out. Free fall 3,000 feet. Set upon by a pack of wolves. Flew through barbed wire, picked up some shrapnel from a stray grenade. Here we are.
I've seen what a regular dog can do to a deer plushie that is the size of a pigeon. I have no faith he was able to survive being viciously attacked by 2 wolves, let alone with just some bruises and missing feathers. Valiant then tells the group what happened to Bugsy. Then Gutsy decides he's gonna go scout around the base and see if he can find any chance of saving both the message and Bugsy. And then he comes back with terrible news.
This is a highly fortified bunker stuffed to the gills with enemy falcons. There's only one opening, scarcely big enough for a hummingbird. I'm afraid it's hopeless.
Yeah, I don't think he checked very well, because we, the audience, know that there are literally only 3 falcons, not even people, birds, actually occupying that place, not including the 2 prisoners, which are on your side, inside. I think that Dr. House is not only a liar, I think that he is being completely lazy and cowardly. If you heard carefully though, there is a way in, but it's too small for any regular birds to go through. But oh wait, oh my god, I get it, they have a bird that can fit through there. Wow. I guess sometimes maybe it is useful to be small and different. And you know what's even better? I didn't even learn that from this film. I learned that from The Little Engine That Could and The Hobbit. And literally every single story that has used this exact same theme better. But Valiant then sneaks into the bunker, and we learn that this whole setup that the Falcons got going here is fucking weird. First, I want to mention how the place is fully furnished. Last I checked, bunkers in the middle of a war zone aren't exactly designed for glamping. Secondly, the walls have regular-sized portraits of Von Talon on them. Do the Nazi humans respect these birds that much that they have full-on portraits, not just one, multiple of just the bird? That's significantly better treatment than the British have been treating their birds. Also, they literally have stuffed pigeons on this mantle as trophies. That shit's horrifying. Anyways, while Von Talon is busy showering and distracting his underlings with getting the right cape for him to present the message to old Adolf, Valiant finds the message and decides that he absolutely must swallow it since he left his little backpack behind to sneak in. Guess using his feet wasn't an option? He then breaks up Bugsy and the other pigeon prisoner and they escape. But the Falcons are alerted pretty quickly, and Von Talon sent his minions to go after them. The rest of the group distract the goons with the mighty Megazord pigeons so Valiant can deliver the message, but Von Talon ignores the dog pile and chases Valiant himself. Valiant then flies all the way from France to England, with Von Talon chasing him the entire time, meaning no breaks. No shot. No shot. No fucking shot. Valiant does not make it. He died. War's over, movie's over, we lost. But because this is a 100% fictional story, even though it takes place in a real event, Valiant arrives in England and tries to shake Von Talon off his tail by hiding at his own house. But Valiant outmaneuvers Von Talon and then banishes him to eternal spanking hell. He then delivers the message to his superiors, once again giving the audience a look at how much the director loves bodily fluids, and they deliver it to the human generals, who decide to stage their invasion plans on the beach of Normandy instead. Valiant and the rest of S Squad are awarded medals for a job well done. I personally think Valiant should be the only one who should get anything after all this. The others basically did nothing, and Bugsy should technically be considered a traitor to the nation now. But then they celebrate. Valiant and the nurse Dove have a weird human-like kiss with their beaks, and then we get a message about how important animals were in World War II. Movie over. That was this film. I didn't go over everything I wanted to talk about, but I wanted to keep this video digestible, so I recommend you watch it yourself, form your own opinion. You might actually like this film. I just didn't like it all. I love World War II media and learning about it, but this movie was oof. But if you like this video, you should 100% leave a like, and then you should subscribe, because then you'll be, your feed will be showing you when I post something else, and it's like, oh hey, I liked what he did last time, I should watch it again. Also, leave a comment down below of what's the weirdest thing you've seen a bird do before. But yeah, that's it for me. See ya.